This just in, popular leftist feminist news site Jezebel has been shut down effective immediately after its owners failed to find a new buyer. This site was once one of the Gawker Empire sites, and then after the legal troubles that Gawker had as a result of a lawsuit from Hulk Hogan that was financed by Peter Thiel, Gawker went down and the assets were sold to other places, and now Jezebel had survived, made it through all of that, but now Jezebel is gone as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm never going to celebrate the end of a media enterprise, given how they've been dealing with a really uphill battle with funding. There's been a real narrowing of outlets for people to choose from. We used to have local news that were reporting on issues that were germane to localities. We don't have that anymore. We used to have kind of more independent blogs that would talk about niche issues. It was a feminist website, and it was very popular for a very long time. And I used to enjoy it a great deal back in the day when you could get a lot more, I think, fun pop culture content, different places. But, you know, I think the Gawker lawsuit that damned Gawker more broadly, and I think started to imperil Jezebel as part of that, it was because of the kind of overreaches that were happening in some of those areas with respect to posting.
Yeah. Posting.
I mean, I don't know, sexual content.
Without the permission of the people making it. The Hulk Hogan situation was a little more complicated. He ultimately did prevail, but he was at least a person in the public interest. I mean, they also, not Jezebel, but again, Gawker, I think it was Deadspin, it was just vile examples of revenge porn. I was looking it up to make sure I wasn't going to slander them because it was so bad in my memory. It is just as bad. Deadspin published just video footage of a young woman who is intoxicated at a sports arena having sex in a bathroom stall, and it's like not clear she can even consent. And she's not a public person, and there's no public interest in this at all. And they published a blurry video of it. And when she begged them, oh my God, take this down, they said, you could see their internal emails, because this came out as a result of the Hulk Hogan lawsuit. And they're just like, blah, 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 she's upset about this. And they told her to just this will pass. You just have to deal with it. I mean, it's crazy. There was no news value to it whatsoever.
Yeah.
And there were a couple instances of things like that. So people, this came to my attention that Jezebel's being shut down. People keep tweeting at me that you must be very happy about this. My first brush with internet fame was back in 2014 after I wrote an article for a reason, saying that I didn't believe aspects of the Rolling Stone, University of Virginia sexual assault story. There was a big report in Rolling Stone magazine about UVA and this horrific gang rape that had happened to this woman, and I criticized it. I didn't believe aspects of it. So then Jezebel, when we put it up on screen, I did find it. Jezebel wrote about me. It's the UVA rape story, a gigantic hoax, ass idiot. I'm the idiot in question. It's me. I'm named in there. And then this was one of the more satisfying you turn the tables thing when within a few days the Rolling Stone story did completely collapse, and it collapsed as dramatically as any story ever has. It turned out the woman, Jackie, in the story had in fact made it up, that the person did not exist. She knew who he was, and it was a fake person. She was actually sending texts from a fake account to her friends to make it seem like he existed. It was a rather out of extraordinary and unusual, frankly, level of deception that the sole source for the story went through to make it all up, which reflects very poorly on Rolling Stone, because if they had done very basic things like ask her friends, look up the guy to see that he actually exists, and so on and so forth, it would have quickly emerged that she was crazy and making it up. So I did get to have a little bit of a ha-ha moment with Jezebel, and people we're forever tied or something, because people remember this. They now 10 years later, they still bring it up to me.
Not forever tied, because there's no Jezebel anymore.
Yeah, now it's over. You were right that it was a witty publication. It had a lot of smart people who were very incisive and, holding truth to power a lot of the time, but also just had no, again, I'm characterizing the broader Gawker universe, not Jezebel specifically, just had no good judgment, or often had bad judgment for newsworthiness, and when a subject or a target was deserving of a takedown, and when it's when it was invading people's privacy in a semi-criminal way, and the fact that they couldn't tell that apart, and were very defiant about it, because eventually Nick Denton, who was in charge of the whole enterprise, did start to say, okay, I think some of the stuff we're doing here is evil and we can't do it. And the staff revolted. A bunch of them resigned. They fought tooth and nail against any direction from the guy who invented the whole thing to just say, maybe we don't non-consensually post random people's
it's a low bar
stuff. So.
Yeah, I was trying to remember what I used to like a lot. They had a series, it might have been Gawker, I can't remember if it was Gawker or Jezebel, where it was it was framed like the best restaurant in New York is, but then they would go to the most random places to eat, like the American Girl Cafe, or like the restaurant at the zoo, or like the UN dining hall, like places that are not known for their food, and take it very seriously, like they were doing a real restaurant review. Get the doll, sit it next to you, feed it tea, that sort of a thing. And the writers who used to do that column were they were very funny. They had a lot of smart, funny young people. And at the time, this was, 10, 15 years ago, when I was fresh out of college and blogs were still ascendant and I wasn't reading the newspaper in the way that I do now to follow politics. I was just interested in reading something interesting about the world. They were really good at doing it. Yeah. And I do still feel like that there's a hole that's missing. I used to wake up, come to work, sit at my computer, and do 15 minutes of Jezebel, 15 minutes of BuzzFeed, scrolling to see what was going on. And I think a lot of us in our age cohort kind of came up that way. And it's interesting to reflect on how I don't open the internet for pleasure at all anymore.
Well, a big part of the decline of that is changes that social media and Facebook in particular has made. The era of the massive traffic that BuzzFeed and places like the Huffington Post and the Gawker Universe and other sites, and then sites on the right started. Your Federalists, your Breitbarts, your Daily Callers, your Daily Wires. Sort of figured out also how to thrive specifically on Facebook, and then as a result of that, the media started screaming at Facebook that it was. It's so funny when I hear conservatives complain about social media, because that's also what the mainstream media was saying, that Mark Zuckerberg is elevating these disinformation narratives on right-wing sites, and this is how we get Trump. And then finally, as a result of all this pressure and a variety of other reasons, they turned down the dial for the news feed. And bankrupted a whole lot of publications, including eventually this one.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, I always hope that the good journalists at these institutions are able to land on their feet. There was a lot of talent there, and I hope they end up somewhere.
I do not relish anyone losing their jobs. To be clear.
Even the one that wrote the headline calling you an idiot.
No, you know what? I later had drinks with her, and she's a perfectly fine person. And there's no hard feelings or anything.
You love to see it. Good on you, Robby. All right, we're rising after this.